Welcome to the Moon channel. In today's video, we'll discuss the phenomenon of the unfairness of shorts and the unreliability of longs. The reason I decided to record this video was the situation with the River coin. As you may have already guessed, the reason isn't so much the speculative growth, but rather the funding rate, also known as funding. Let's start with a bit of background. I already had a very negative experience once with the COAI coin. In short, I entered a short position, and this scam coin was pumped hard, and not just once but twice. The entry point turned out to be less than ideal in the end, but I planned to wait out the drawdown, as I had always done successfully in such cases. The drawdown was significant, and I even averaged down on the position, but since I entered according to my strategy with only a small percentage of my deposit, I can say today that my plan was correct, and as you can see, the coin is now at the bottom. But the funding requirements consumed more than a full third of my deposit, and I had to reluctantly realize and lock in significant losses, for the first time since I initially began the process of learning to trade. And what conclusions were drawn about how to act if you find yourself in a similar situation again? Unfortunately, the only conclusion I came to was that there's nothing you can do in this situation, and you just have to hope for luck. Or rather, it's not exactly that absolutely nothing can be done. But there simply isn't a viable option available right now that perfectly fits my specific trading strategy. And now, a similar situation is happening again with the River coin. And if, after seeing what kinds of losses can happen, you still decide to register on one of the top exchanges, I recommend doing so using the link in the description and the comments under this video, because that way you'll have the opportunity to participate in receiving bonuses from the exchanges. And under this video, there is a link to Bybit copy trading and a free Telegram channel with all my trades. Also, under this video, there is a link to open a Bybit card. And don't miss your chance while it's still available to get a reward of 10 USDT just for spending at least 100 USDT or the equivalent from your Bybit card, but make sure to do it within the first month after issuing the card. So that's all for today. I entered a short position 2.5 weeks ago, then added a bit more, and currently my entry point is 24.5, though not as much, and its growth is not backed by anything except the fact that a large amount of River is held by the developers themselves, which is obviously not a good sign. But its future is quite clear to me. It's only a matter of time. And unfortunately, a similar situation occurred with the funding, though on a somewhat smaller scale. With COAI, the rate at one point was -4% per hour, while here it was -2.5% per hour, but it didn't last as long on this coin. But the night is still young, as they say. However, that was enough for me to accumulate funding fees that were twice the size of the position itself, and it only normalized when the active pump ended, which was around this day. And now for the most interesting part, what decision did I come to? It's a compromise, unfortunately, but that's how it is. The solution is to allocate part of the budget to a hedge position, which can be done in two ways. The first way is to open a temporary hedge position. In our case, that's a long position on the River coin within the same exchange. But you can only do this if you have successfully activated and enabled the hedge mode here, well in advance of actually entering the position, because by default it's completely disabled and turned off. For the alternative second approach, you will not necessarily require the use of hedge mode. You can quite easily move and transfer a specific amount of your digital assets to another exchange, where the coin you need to open a reverse position on is currently listed and available for trading. That's exactly what I did. I transferred to OKX the same amount as I entered the position with and added a bit more so that liquidation there wouldn't be too close. Of course, as I already mentioned, this is a compromise solution because you have to deviate from your strategy and separate part of your deposit. And if you trade like I do using cross margin, this will bring your liquidation price a bit closer and reduce your ability to open new positions. But modern problems require modern solutions, and in my opinion, this is the best one. What other points should you pay attention to before opening a reverse position on another exchange? You need to monitor the funding rate on the platforms you're interested in, specifically what the hourly closing rates are, no matter what it is throughout the hour. What matters is the rate at which the hour actually closes, because that's when funds are either deducted or credited. So, to my example, for the River coin on the Bybit exchange, the rate at the moment was -2.5%, while on OKX it was minus 1.5%. How can you even find this out? You hover your cursor here and you can see the relevant information. And in this situation, it was preferable to open a long position, even a slightly larger one, so that the smaller commission I would receive on OKX would more or less offset the one I was paying on Bybit. From my observations, the commission doesn't differ drastically, like, for example, minus 4% on Bybit and plus 2 on OKX. But as you can see, a difference of 1% is quite possible. And this is also related to the fact that these were the maximum rates possible on these exchanges for a specific coin at that particular moment. From my observations, the maximum possible rate on OKX is usually lower than on Bybit. Now, regarding another, no less challenging task, how do we close all of this? As for the long position, in this situation, it serves as a hedge, and it makes sense to close it at break even in the worst case, and in the best case, when the funding gradually starts to even out and the coin is likely to drop, at least temporarily. This is an important marker, but there is no clear algorithm here. Each situation is unique, and you need to be very careful not to end up with losses on both sides. For example, as we discussed at the beginning of the video with the COAI coin, it seemed to go down, dropped significantly, and then recovered again to its previous levels, and naturally the funding rate was constantly changing drastically. This also needs to be taken into account, and that this may not be the last pump, and if there's another one, the funding rate will inevitably become negative again, and with a larger position, naturally you'll have to pay even more. I hope I was able to clearly convey my thoughts to you on this very important and painful topic, especially for short sellers. And if you didn't understand anything, you can simply copy my trades through copy trading. I've had it available for some time now. That's all for today, and thank you for your attention.